It has to be like a plural because it's.
Yeah.
I think it's two.
The nostril crevice, maybe.
The crevasses.
Yeah.
The valleys, or the nasal valley.
The nasal valley.
It's really like the butt cheek of the face, kind of.
Yep.
I mean, that is not. I would say the mouth.
It's an
the cheeks are the
unfortunate-
butt cheeks of the face.
It's
Right?
unfortunately close to the nose to.
Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Welcome back to another episode of Under the Influence. I'm one of your four co-hosts, Jude Crane, joined today by my brother,
Jerry Crane.
my brother in Christ,
Byron Thiessen.
and our collective brother in Christ,
Hunter Hoover.
Levi Thiessen.
Oh,
Whoa,
no, I
wait a
didn't.
second.
Sorry.
Oh, no,
What?
I goofed it.
I blew it out of the
Gosh,
game.
darn it.
Absolutely.
My bad.
No, we're super honored to have a guest today. We've had two guests this season, which is an absolute crime. We should have had more because we're video, right? And so we got to find some people in our lives, some people from around the Salem area, and we got to put them on the spotlight, put them on the camera for all their pimples to be seen, right? And you know that's what some people are thinking.
On the guest episode, that's a rough one to drop. Just be like,
Well, here's the thing. I
You're
don't see
targeting
any.
our guest.
I don't see any, right?
That's 90% of what the beard's for.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that since I started getting rid of, well, I've never really had a beard, but I've started getting rid of things slowly and going to just a mustache. And I'm like, oh, man, any little red spot on my face is super visible.
you've been shaving your legs, which is cool.
Yeah, but slowly getting rid of stuff until I just have a mustache.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a weird choice in terms of like hair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because for the most part, nobody notices.
yeah. But you're really passionate
I'm wearing
about
shorts
keeping the
today.
legs-
So, yeah. Gross, man. So we're super honored to have another guest. We want to be doing this more regularly, and we decided to have a buddy of ours who also is in the podcasting business. I don't know if I should say business. Are we making a lot of money here?
We're $0
Yeah.
is the goal.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. I wouldn't call ours, well, ours is really more of an enterprise, but no. But no, he also has a podcast. If you're a longtime listener, you've certainly heard us talk about it before because I've done an episode, Jude's done an episode, but Byron.
We'll have to complete the...
Sorry, buddy.
I know. We'll have to finish it out.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
But it's a wonderful podcast, super fun to listen to, and I think it's hitting on something that when what's the show? Now I can't remember the name. Hot Ones. The show Hot Ones came along on YouTube. People have really noticed the fact that it's putting people in a vulnerable place, right? To answer hard-hitting questions because they're in this the facade of celebrity and fame is kind of falling away because they're sweating and they can't think straight, and you're really hitting on something similar, if I'm being honest.
It's adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Because-
fills them full hot wings.
Yeah, he fills them full of hot wings. You put him in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful. I think it's so funny, and I just loved sitting there and talking about old stories, and I think I talked about something with you recently, and then I was like, you know what? I'll save that for the podcast, and I might talk about it today.
Perfect.
But yeah, how are you, man?
I'm doing so well. I'm pumped to be here. So I don't know if you've ever described the room outside of what everybody else sees, but if you could just see what I see, it is a gamer's paradise up here.
Oh yeah.
I told them when I walked up, it's like every time I walk up these stairs, they have those stairs that come up. It just makes me happy because it's just gaming stuff, and it just puts me in the space to want to game. So I'm doing great. I got to make the drive up. I live in Albany, and so the drive up from Salem, I used to do it every day, and now I get to do it when I want to, and it's a lot better to do it when you want to. So,
I bet. Yeah, by a gamer's paradise, he's mostly talking, we got some magic stuff over there. We got a table for D&D. For those of you that know, or excuse me, those of you that don't know, which there should be none of you. We have a D&D podcast.
For those of you that know, and those of you that don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Of Lore and Legend. Go check it out. It's super fun. But that's over there. You know, for you, it's behind you. So if you're watching us right now, look behind you. That's where we record D&D.
Sea of
I
office
really hope
chairs
you're
and
in
board
like a
games.
reasonable place when I said that.
Yeah.
Look behind you.
They're driving down the road. Yeah. Somehow watching, but still
they-
driving.
And look behind them and they see moving along I-5 just as speedily as a table with 9 people sitting around it rolling dice.
Immediately.
D&D on the road.
We've done it.
We
We're-
tried.
We're like on a flatbed trailer, and we're just sitting with a table.
Okay, I haven't done it like that.
Exposed to the elements?
Totally exposed. We're just sitting there. I can't know what I'm doing.
Get yourselves in a parade and do the
That
show
would be really cool.
in the parade.
Dude.
How
Should we
hard
get in
is
the
it to get involved in like a city
I think
march or
it's
something?
pretty much like
Pretty
I have a
easy.
trailer and I want to do it.
Yeah, because especially most of those like the parade that goes through Kaiser where we are, that one it's like within reason I think unless you're something terrible, they're like yeah we just want more people in it. Right?
CI
Like,
float. Let's get a Christian influence float and do the
that would be
podcast
really
on it.
cool.
Actually, that's a
Record the it would be an audio nightmare, but just like all these sounds
Well, we
around
don't
you
have
while
to
you're.
play trumpets while we record.
Well, I didn't mean you were playing them.
It adds it. I think it adds to the legitimacy of what you would be doing, though. You know,
If we
Oh,
used
yeah.
handheld mics, which we could probably get a hold of.
That's true. I mean,
Wouldn't be too bad.
we've been talking about doing an En Route with Jude episode for a while, and that's gonna happen at some point. And I just have to figure out the logistics of it.
I think it's season 4 because we went from existence, also existing, to video. Season 3, and season 4 will be automotive. Mobile.
the whole season.
All of them are on the road.
We'll just change the name. It's Under the Influence on the Route with Jude.
We're gonna renovate a little Sprinter van into a podcast studio.
That
rent
would
a
be kinda
U-Haul.
cool. Yeah. That'd be a lot of money, but
The table is like,
yeah.
Who's driving though when we're doing this?
if it's actually on route, it has,
Yeah, it has
to be me.
Jude. I think I
mean,
found a
it
way
could be.
that I can mount the GoPro
You
pretty effectively because it comes with that
with
little
the
piece.
stickies. Yeah.
And because for those that don't know, we use a GoPro to record the video, which is kind of hilarious. I think
The
for a
angle is
podcast.
just from the hood of the van, and we keep all the
You know, in
audio
the
that the
office-
camera picks up. So it's just
You know, in the office, whenever they have that, when they're in a car and it looks janky, I'm really hoping it just looks like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just 2 people in the front seats, and then 2 people are going to have to be in the back, and just hanging out, for an hour of your driving. And I think that there's some spots where we could easily. We've already talked about it. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you played D&D with me and Byron.
And I was in it.
Yep.
For a point of time back in the day. I would have been like 19. Like 19. It was, and it was at a time when Cyrus, right, knew that I played D&D, wanted to get a game together for a while, and he knew a bunch of dudes from Corbin,
Yep.
right, and one of them being Sam Balek, who actually got us into D&D.
Yep.
And the rest is history there, but
what a guy!
yeah,
Yeah.
what a cool guy.
What a guy!
You ever hear from him?
I haven't heard from him in some time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought he like moved to another country. At one
Yeah, I
point.
thought he went to like Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything since then. Yeah.
But yeah, he was working at the ballpark for a summer with us one year, and he was just like, "Hey, you guys ever played D&D?" And we're like, "No, but I've always wanted to."
We were like trying to come up with our own D&D.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. So we were in the game room, and I'm like, "Hey, let's play D&D." No, I feel like that's not right.
Yeah, our parents might not be okay with it.
And so we were trying to make our own, and we talked to Sam, and Sam overheard us, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I play D&D.
Yeah.
You should play D&D." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we got a fake, but I got a little cheap box, the starter kit.
Yep.
And then he ran us through that.
Well,
And then-
he ran us through like 3 sessions of it, and then decided he didn't want to anymore.
He's like, "I don't like this as much."
yeah.
Jerry,
He's like, "Jerry, you do it."
you do it.
8 years later, I'm still doing it, or whatever.
Look at that.
But yeah, we had a little group get together with a bunch of Corbin guys and Cyrus, and then me, who knew nobody but Cyrus at the time. And I got to run a D&D game for you guys, and we played it for a little while. It was super fun. And I guess it just kind of died off a little bit, but that's how I got to meet you.
Yeah.
And then I heard about your podcast, and and then you heard about mine. And then
Yeah.
we've done some episodes. So
The rest is history.
yeah, the rest
The
really
rest
is
is
history.
history. Weird thing about so Cyrus so he moved down the valley to Albany, and almost the same month that he made that move, my wife and I moved to Albany.
Oh, really?
I took a job. So he took a job at a church, and then I took a job at another church just like 5 miles from him. So we see each other regularly. It's one of those weird like, hey, how are you? But yeah, it's kind of a
Regularly, like just in the grocery store, or regularly, like you make an effort to see each other regularly?
we don't make an effort as often as either of us would like to see each other. But yeah, we like I've run into him at like parent teacher conferences.
Oh, cool.
Just in Albany. Albany's not as big as a lot of people want it to be.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you run the south side, he's got the north side type of thing.
Kind of. Yeah. No.
He's on the south side of the tracks. North side of the tracks. One of you greases back his hair, not going to say which one. The other one carries around a comb or whatever.
In his pocket, yeah.
I mean, there are tracks that separate us through
Oh, no.
Albany. So I mean,
Whoa.
Oh, no.
all we got to do is no. Never mind.
You're looking at a kingpin of crime right here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Cyrus was mine and Jude's, I guess, kind of, not your youth pastor, but you went to the...
I went to the youth group for
A few times.
the last, 6 months of him being
Yeah,
there.
but he was at the church where we were, like, really young. We went to a church a long time ago, and then he ended up going to another church, and my family ended up going to that church as well. And then, so he was the youth pastor there before I was too young to be in youth group, and then we went to the same church afterward. Then he was my youth pastor up until I was like 19, and then he made that move down to Albany, took another job, and I've only seen him a handful of times since. But yeah, I miss that guy. I was just talking to Perry about him the other day. But
Kaiser Community Church, represent.
yes, Kaiser
Check it
Community
out.
Church.
Great place.
It is, yeah. I mean, we went there for a
Good
long
people.
time. Love that place. But all right, chit chat out of the way. 16 minutes of chit chat out of the way.
Wow.
I've got a quick opening question. So, actually, before we do this, if you don't mind, go ahead and give like a quick summary or rundown of what your podcast is, just so we familiarize
boy.
people a little bit with it.
Yeah, so my podcast is Privycast. If you're going to search it, it's one of those. I did a really good job of getting the name. But it is a podcast about bathrooms that I record from the bathroom. And we cover bathroom history, culture, and then we strive for once a month to have a guest in the bathroom with us. So that is my show, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Very good. I mean, go ahead.
Just as a side note, he likes bathrooms so much he has toilet paper and
Oh, yeah.
plungers on his socks.
Wait, what?
I got my
That's
bathroom
awesome.
socks
He has his
on.
bathroom socks
Dude.
on.
Yeah.
Just wanna.
So you are a
If you guys haven't seen
bathroom enthusiast, huh?
Yeah, this is, y'all can do with this whatever you want. I've spent enough time in a bathroom and servicing bathrooms in my life to where it was like my thoughts are just in this room too often. And then I got curious and started looking stuff up, and it started as a joke, to tell you the truth, and it kind of spun into what it is now. Yeah.
You're going to hear some noises downstairs. There's people doing catering. Sorry about that. Honestly, I think it's great. And it is, like, it does kind of fill this niche, right? That I think is it's so clever. Because every podcast kind of, like, there's a million podcasts out there with a bunch of guys just talking. Well, we're one of them, essentially, right? But, man, having a good, I mean, dare I say the word gimmick? But, like, okay.
No, it's
like,
a gimmick.
Like, a good gimmick, is so clever. And one that, like, is part of its branding, right? That's what a good gimmick is. We could have a gimmick on here. We probably do have a few, but, like, you don't know them unless you start listening and you happen.
Conservative.
Yeah, what a gimmick.
Religious.
Yeah, we're
That's
Christians.
the gimmick. No.
No. No, we've got a few, but you have to, like, listen to the show regularly to really be a part of them. But, man, part of the branding and everything, I think it's great. Yeah, it's just so clever.
I have a question, because I see you as the ultimate moral authority on bathrooms, or just ultimate authority on bathrooms in general now. Because you're the only person I've met who should be, frankly.
That's fair. Yeah. Who else could I say is the authority on bathrooms?
And this is the one question, like, as soon as we finished recording my episode, or the episode I was on, I should say, I had for you that I totally regretted not asking. And it was like, what is the nicest bathroom you've ever been in? Like the ultimate peak. Maybe not of like, it cost X amount to build it, but like of comfort.
Are you talking like public or private? Because I mean, I've been in some houses that are, it's like, okay, this is plush.
Why not both?
Okay, so private bathroom. There was, it was one of those kind of ranch style houses out in Silverton. We used to attend and serve at a church out kind of in the Prattam area. And we would go out to families' houses, and these folks, they had a farm. They're this farm, but they also had a patent for some thing that attaches to a tractor that lets you bale hay. I don't know, but they were a very well off family. The plus side of that is they were incredibly generous. And so they just had the youth group over to their house all the time and just said, hey, this is your space. Use the pool house. And it's like, well, this is awesome. This is youth group's dream.
What a blessing.
But the pool house bathroom was being used, and I had gone into their home to use the restroom, and man, it was just amazing. It's just like, not marble tile, but it has that marble. It might have been marble, but and it's been 6-7 years, but man, it was just, the huge, almost jacuzzi style bathtub.
Wow.
It's the bathroom's probably pushing half the size of this space up here. Maybe it's huge. It was huge.
The whole space.
Yeah. So like maybe to where that it's not helpful, but
right
about
where the table is?
I would say about 20 foot.
Wow.
20-foot bathroom square. It was huge. It was
So like a 400 square foot bathroom.
Yeah, it was huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
very
cool.
That's bigger than my bedroom. Just want to.
Yeah.
That's huge.
You walk in and it's one of those, and then it has the it has the toilet, and then there's the separated, so somebody can get ready at the sink, and then the other person can hit it.
It's not like a loss leader, but what a great loss leader if you're trying to like get your friends to come to youth group. Yeah. And you're like, dude, come to youth group. It's the biggest bathroom you've ever seen.
And at the time, I'm still kind of, I was pretty far removed from all my bathroom things now, to where it was mostly just mental check. Wow, this is really nice, and then moved on.
Right.
Public. There's this, I don't know, it's hard to find a really fancy public bathroom.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law used to work at this, it's like a big retail outlet thing in Idaho. But the public bathrooms there, it was, that retail, it was pretty posh demographic. And the bathrooms were very nice. It was, whenever we were visiting, it was like, I'll use it before I go. You got it. So that would be kind of in my brain the two that live out. The Disney World bathrooms, they do not. I don't know if you guys want to be like, well, we don't want to harsh on Disney, but their bathrooms are not top of the list of fancy bathrooms. Hit
Harsh
them all
on Disney for every reason possible.
Yeah, I hit them all while I was there, and
you start that.
no,
over.
you're
I
good.
cut that
Yeah,
out later.
I hit all of the bathrooms while I was there, and it. I was expecting the magic of Disney to kind of move into that space, and it did not.
The magic of Disney was not present in the bathroom.
Yeah, no.
In some ways, I'm very okay with that.
Yeah.
The magic of Disney has its flaws.
It was the magic of Disney, but like the magic from that old Fantasia cartoon where there's a giant demon coming out of a mountain.
Yeah.
That kind of magic.
Wait, didn't you record an episode?
I recorded a bunch
Am I allowed to
of.
say that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's no legal issues there.
they can come find me. If there wasn't, then I think statute. No. No, I recorded in every bathroom.
Okay.
But it was
Audio. By the way, when we've been saying
Audio,
record
yeah.
to the bathroom, we really need to
no
specify.
video.
This podcast is audio.
I have attempted video a couple times. It doesn't service the way that this does. That's nobody wants that. That's what I'm finding. So stay in your lane is what I've learned.
I think when your gimmick is like we're about bathrooms from the bathroom, I think you've decided from the gate that video it isn't in the lane, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just a face cam. Like
Yeah.
just your
There's been
It sounds like MODOK.
That weird, like, kind of motion caps, facial camera.
tracks your face the whole time.
When you hear the toilet flush, and it's
You're
just
just like,
stare the camera down while it flushes. No, there's some social media things that have happened from the bathroom, but and some of those I think have gotten out of hand. And
Oh, no.
you know, we make our mistakes and we move on.
that's exactly right.
yeah, I follow your social media accounts. I'm always there for Toilet Tuesday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Toilet Tuesdays?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, you gotta follow it on Instagram.
I need to get on this.
Yeah. I just find I have people send them to me some now, but
Those are the bad ones.
Huh?
Those are the bad ones that I just followed. That
Oh
account.
no, that's Randy Bowles.
Oh, okay,
So
Randy Bowles.
the Toilet Tuesday happens on the Privycast Instagram. Randy Bowles is an entirely separate thing that spares everybody on the
Yeah.
internet from the other half of the toilet pictures that I take and receive. So Toilet Tuesday is totally clean, safe. I would dare say adjacent to family friendly. Like you're getting a picture of a moderately clean bathroom.
I think I saw a picture you took, or that you shared, of like a public restroom from Portland.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just like from the door, and it was just like a hellscape.
Yeah,
you know?
we covered the Portland Loos,
Yeah.
and so we went to the zoo that day, and my wife's a very patient lady, and I said, Anna, I've got to find one of these. I'm up here. We made the drive, and so it didn't take long, and I picked one out of I think 20, and it was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Which doesn't bode well for the other 19. But
Because of COVID, they had to have like the animals use the human restrooms, I heard. Like the monkeys.
I
and
think
stuff.
animals do less
yeah.
damage than what I saw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Animals know to get rid of and hide, and
Yeah.
Know to hide. Yeah.
Very.
Look at a dog when it's
Yeah.
taken to Dookie. It's ashamed of itself.
yeah,
We
Like,
saw that today.
it's staring at you because it
It knows.
knows.
it knows
It's
you know.
apologizing essentially.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like whenever, my dog is in the yard pooping, I look over and dogs just have this
Yeah.
Sorry if you're on audio, but I made a face. But they're just they're looking at you, and then their ears kind of roll back, and they're just like, stop looking at me.
It's almost defeated.
Yeah.
It's
Because
vulnerability.
it's a vulnerability thing.
vulnerable.
And then you just look at them and you're like,
Oh, is that what you do?
no, I just
Poor dog.
you are stuck there. And
Except for when they weirdly try to move and
yikes.
Because they get a little too excited
Yeah,
sometimes.
that-
They're like, no, you're not
And you're
done.
like, no.
Please.
Never mind. You're in control.
It's the worst when you're walking your dog because then it's not just one quick
Yep.
snag and bag. You've got to, move along with them, and
Yeah.
it's just stop. Just get it done, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It means some people are that way too. It's like, spend the
fair.
time necessary and
Yep.
get everything done. But some people are just so on the go. It's like, what's going on there?
I couldn't. What? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Our lamp.
Why is the lamp flickering?
It must be some sort of
ghost.
ghost.
Some sort of spirit.
some sort of spirit. It fell, and I didn't want to have
Frank.
Frank
So-
has written us another letter.
Are you aware of Frank?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
spirits
You know
in the lamp.
Frank?
Oh, yeah.
boy.
I'm aware of it.
Absinthe.
What did Frank say?
Frank is
Frank
the-
always makes sense.
Frank,
too,
from what I understand, is the ghost of like a World War I veteran who got a cannibal at the side of his head because he
A cannibal?
a cannonball
Oh,
to the,
Cannibal.
He said
Cannibal.
he just got a
Right.
cannibal to the side of his head.
just latched on the leech.
Why? What did he say?
Frank says, "Who's this guy?" Frank Likey.
Well, that's
Noted,
quite,
Frank.
That's quite the compliment.
Likey. And that's it. That's all he offered. That's the insight.
Frank's not batting 1,000.
You're
lately.
probably the first stimuli that Frank has responded positively to.
That's true.
Oh.
So
very
it's
true.
very negative.
No, it's quite the compliment.
All right.
He's
Yeah.
often radical.
Normally, we just have to cut the segments where Frank.
We
butts in
do.
'cause it's-
Some of them just go straight to Patreon.
Yeah, him and Levi really bounce off each other well. I don't know what about
think
what's
that-
about.
You know,
You know,
there's a kinship
something about
there.
those Civil War values. I couldn't tell.
What is it called
Civil
in
War
Star
values.
Wars, the bad ones, where they're connected spirits?
What the Force? Oh, like the dyad.
I think Levi and Frank are
Midichlorians?
force dyads.
Yeah. The dyads.
Question. Yeah.
We
Who's
didn't address. Yeah, Levi's right. We didn't address Levi being gone. He's sick. Poor guy's puking his guts out.
Yeah.
In the bathroom.
That's right.
Hopefully.
Somebody had to do it.
Hopefully in the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully in the bathroom. Well, if not, maybe a trash can. But all right, real quick. I have a bathroom-related question for you. And Jude,
I'm sorry. I totally
no,
took
knocked it out of the
thunder.
park. I wanted to maybe kind of play the audience here, not play the audience, but like play to my audience in some ways, and go, all right, we got the guy who is the authority on bathrooms here. Oh wait, did you answer the nicest public bathroom?
I think so. It was the
that's right. My bad.
Idaho shopping
On public levels, the nicest ones are all in this kind of gray. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that story I talked about on your show.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, you can get lucky occasionally and get a Walmart
Yes.
bathroom that, for whatever reason, is like so nice.
Yeah.
But
you can't.
that's a real lottery,
Yeah.
It's,
It's possible.
yeah. Walmart's either real bad, almost that Portland level, or it's like, what in the world? There's vines on the counter that are just hanging out. No, but my question is, so on your show, you kind of ran me through a list of bathroom-related questions. Some of them were even shower-related. Yeah. And I have a slight update. I might have told you this already, but I did try more recently something that you brought up on that podcast.
Okay.
So on the episode, you talked about, the toilet paper this way or that way,
Yes.
a bunch of other stuff. And what kind of soap do you use in the shower, right? You mentioned, drinking LaCroix in the shower.
Yeah.
I've done it many times.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Right.
It's akin to, and I only realized this recently, to like being in a hot tub and having a cold drink. Because we were over at Carson's house recently.
Oh, yeah.
In the hot tub, and I was like, you better believe I'm taking my ice cold water in there.
Yeah.
And dude, it's an incredible experience. Drinking something ice cold. Now, it would have been better if it was bubbly.
Yeah.
Because the bubbles, there is something about that reacting with the heat around your body. But that one's not it. The one that I found stranger, but I know as a child I must have done because it feels so familiar, and I did it again, and it was totally worth it, was eating an orange like an apple.
Yeah.
Dude, I fully peeled an orange. This is a weird thing for our audience, but then I fully peeled an orange and ate it like an apple.
Yeah.
Because that's a tremendous experience, but there's a problem, an innate problem, which is that it's sticky. But if you're already in the shower, you're being cleansed.
Yep. Yeah.
Wait, you ate an orange like an apple in the shower.
100%. It just touched my
It's
hand,
peeled.
Byron.
It's peeled.
And then my lips.
I have to try this.
And the
Yeah.
juice
This sounds amazing.
Well, first and foremost, have you ever eaten an orange like an apple?
I have eaten an orange like an apple once.
Isn't it better?
And it's like
It's primal for sure.
It feels weird.
It tastes different. To me, it tastes different.
I don't know if can't remember. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
We had a coworker that ate like tangerine like an apple, but would eat it and like bite off the slices.
I've done that.
kind of a thing, but never just like
No, that's what you got to. You got to find the
full
most
bite out of
like
it.
the most messy it can get. So go to the side and tear it apart.
in the shower.
Well, that just keeps you clean.
Yeah, because
if
if
you do
normally
it-
prevents you.
Yeah, because if you do it in the wild, you're gonna have just orange juices down your arm.
It's gonna be in your face, down your arm.
You've got facial hair, right?
We're in the beard
Dude,
family, so
dude,
yes.
you've got
Yeah. It's gonna be mess.
I think there's something about there's little to no risk when you're in the shower
Yeah.
to where it allows you to go even more primal on this fruit.
Yes.
What's more primal than just like, a man and his food?
Well,
Nothing gets in between it,
you're starting to sound like an old story we told on top of the cliff kind of mentality. But yeah, I think it's not that the shower enhances the experience in this case, at least in my understanding. The LaCroix, the shower is adding something. The shower is the medium in which allows you the experience, because there is something significant about the eating an orange like an apple experience, but it has a detriment to it. The shower just nullifies the detriment, right?
Yep.
But that was a quick update. Excuse me, quick update for you, because that's something I've done. And as an adult, I know as a kid I must have done it, because when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, this is hitting some memory, core memory that I can't unlock. But I've done it since, and it held up.
I'd like to do a pomelo
Oh my god.
because they're sweeter. and it require 2 hands to do it, I think, like really effectively. But then you're like, because what I think makes the orange so great is that normally when you eat orange slices, you're getting a constant median of pulp to skin ratio. But when you bite it, some of those are going to be wildly more skin if you're up at the top, or wildly more pulp if you're biting right into the core of the apple orange, the orpal. So a pomelo, which is like, I love grapefruit, and a pomelo is like the sweeter, tangy grapefruit.
The problem with that, though, you shouldn't eat pomelo. It's not skin, the pomelo cartilage.
Rind, but it'll take more prep. You got to get like a carrot peeler or something and really go at it.
Which means you won't have a thing. You'll have a bunch of little cells.
No. You'll have a layer of skin around it.
Oh.
It'll just require a true. I mean, you want to talk about primal? Let's talk about eating that.
Good gravy.
I think there's also an audio clip living in there somewhere that involves how often you said skin. And I'm eager for it.
Rind.
You did say skin a lot, which is uncomfortable.
Skin to pulp.
I mean, it has skin. We all have skin.
Yeah.
Apple skin.
Yeah.
Peel.
Okay. But my question is shower related, and I felt, okay, this is topical because we have the bathroom expert, right? This is apparently, so there are age-old bathroom related debates on the internet, right? The over-under toilet paper thing, a bunch of stuff. Now, one that I only recently encountered, I never would have guessed is even debatable. Like, you could debate this. Is, do you wash your legs in the shower? Apparently, I'm not going to say which side I'm on because I'd like to hear, because I'm wondering if maybe I am in the midst of some people that disagree. But apparently, some people scrub their legs in the shower, right? Whether with the soap, with whatever device they're using, whether loofah, whatever. Right. And some people also don't, because the argument is that as you're washing, soap naturally washes down your legs anyway, so it will be clean. And I'm trying to do my best to be objective here, so you don't really know which one I am. I'm just curious for your guys' opinion, because perhaps I'm in the midst, because to me the answer is so clearly obvious. But maybe from what I've seen online, it was just a quick clip of another podcast where 2 guys were just really like,
they're going at it.
Opposed. Yeah, they were like,
well, so when you said that, my first thought was, well, they're washing their legs elsewhere. Like, they've finished the shower, or they've preempted the shower with a leg wash. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out,
they're like, this is my leg wash.
Maybe someone who's shaving their legs would do that to during
First
the
they
shave.
use the mud sink to wash their legs, and then they get in the shower.
Yeah. Right.
But when they're in the shower, they wash everything to the knees and then from the ankles down.
But then when you explained it, so I guess I'm just gonna cards on the table.
Go for it.
Where I'm at, I wash my legs.
Okay.
I mean, and I guess there's logic in the soap running down, but my pushback on that is, why not just soap the top and let this whole process take its toll, armpits and everything? Like, you just stand like this in the shower and just kind of squirt the stuff and just let gravity, like, that's kind of, it seems inconsistent. So I am a leg scrubber.
Okay.
Washcloth, liquid soap.
Okay. Jude, where you at on this?
I wash.
And we know you're a contrarian, so I know what you have to say. But what's just kidding.
I am, because this is, I mean, I don't think it is. I'm pretty much the same. I don't ever wash my legs unless I'm washing my hair.
Wait, what?
So,
because I don't wash my hair with soap every time I shower, because it makes it dry out. And so when I wash my hair, actually with soap, I will go by with the loofah if I have it and scrub my legs.
But
now,
other times,
which is like once every third shower, and I shower about.
So 2 out of 3 showers, you're not washing your legs.
I'm letting the soap run down. But just let me give my reason, because I'll always scrub my armpits because I'm sweating. Even my leg pits, because I wear jeans all the time. Those are the important areas. Soap is not.
Well, those are some,
Soap is not a disinfectant. It clings onto oils and breaks them down. And I understand there's a little bit of oil deep in the pores that you're not getting. I get those when I scrub. But then for the other times, it's breaking down the oil and it's going off into the water, which is where all the germs and like filth clings to oil, so that's what soap does. It breaks it down. And when it runs down, it breaks it down.
So you've thought about this in that reason, right? Like the
Yes.
reason being that it runs down?
But also, you don't want to deplete yourself too much of your natural body oils. Like, that's a proven thing. This is science, people. All right?
Yeah, you look... right now.
I'm a scientist, okay?
This is science.
I got science on my side. I got great hair. It won't look like it if I take my hat off, but I got great hair because I take care of it. And I take care of my leg hair, too. And so I wash my legs when I wash my hair, which is about every 3...
So the concern is the leg hair, not the skin.
Oh, no. The concern is the oil, skin, pores, and stuff. But
Say skin.
it's just
But, okay.
the frequency in
His
which I wash
point-
my hair.
Go ahead.
What about your arms? Do you wash your arms every time? Because your arm skin and your leg skin are pretty much the same skin.
I usually end up washing my arms just because it's part of, like, when I get my armpits with hard soap, I like to get it on and then get, like, a loofah and just get, like, the top kind of head, armpit, which involves arms and hands because I always wash my hands.
Mm-hmm.
You wash your hands in the shower?
I mean, I always get, like, the soap on your hands, so everyone
you
washes
got
their
it.
hands.
Okay, yeah.
But you're
No,
not, like,
I don't
making an
like,
effort, like,
all right,
gotta wash
and now we
these.
do the hands.
I was like, this is wild.
It would be so funny if you're like, yeah, I don't really care about the legs 2/3 of the time, but man, I wash my hands every single...
Yeah, every
In
time.
the shower.
Okay.
Not every
Interesting.
time, but about at the same frequency in which I would shampoo my hair, I will scrub.
Okay,
Full.
so like on the little clip of somebody else's podcast I saw, it was these two people that were vehemently opposed. One guy was like, I never scrub my legs because soap is running down, right? And the other guy's like, you're crazy because it's still part of your body. So, and he kind of had the point you had, which is like, if you're going to wash the rest of your body, I mean, logically you would need to. So what's interesting is that you're weirdly in the middle, and you've chosen that for whatever reason your legs are comparable to your hair in the sense that they don't need to be...
Do you know why I wear jeans? It's because my legs have as much hair as my head.
Oh my gosh.
They're just as...
You're just Chewbacca.
Video.
Yeah.
No, it's just because at the frequency in which I do that, which is about every third day, then I,
So let me ask you a question. Do you think it's that every third shower you're just being more conscious to be like, this is a deeper clean? Is that more what it's like? So is it like an all-round deeper
I think
clean?
if there's any germs or dirt or bacteria that I need to worry about, I think I'm hitting it by that day every other
Right.
day.
So it is more, or is it really that you're in your head? You're like every third. I'm trying to understand. Every third shower, you're like, this is my okay. It's always the same despite the head and legs, and then the third shower, those are being met, or is it just that like third shower, you're like, I'm just paying more attention to making sure I'm clean all around.
Third shower is a deep clean.
Okay.
We clean.
Yep.
We clean to an absolutely above acceptable level, right?
I got it.
Like a totally
Third
good
shower
level.
is a deep
And then
clean.
the third shower is like, okay,
You
let's
write
do
that
an
down?
oil
Yeah.
change, right? It's been 3,000 miles. Now let's change the oil. Now let's change the air filter. Like there's things that you do
Sure, yeah, no,
every so often.
Sure. Yeah.
If you shampoo every day, everywhere, you're going to dry out your skin unless you're using expensive shampoo, which I don't have. I don't have expensive shampoo.
Certainly. Byron, you got any thoughts?
Well, I think I know where Jerry lands. And at this point, I think I can guess.
So I'm going to be, I guess, more boring. I just wash everything every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Hey,
Like
I'm
hair.
just worried about cracked skin, you know?
Hair. I wash my hair
not on
every
my
day.
legs.
I wash
dude, your leg-
everything
that's
every
why
day.
I'm s-
How often do you wash your toes and your feet?
every time I wash my legs, I wash my feet as well.
Okay, so you're washing your feet and your toes once every 3 days.
You got to get in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a. Sorry, this can get kind of easy, but what are you considering legs? Are you talking knees down? Or are you talking hips down?
You know what? I was actually impressed because in your weird offhand example, literally,
Knees down.
this is my leg.
What?
This is my. I watch
That's
this
better,
every
though.
time I take a shower,
Okay.
but this is my leg.
You know, for some reason, I thought that is leg too.
Yeah,
Like knee
I've
down.
been thinking
Yeah.
that, but then I was like, now that we've found out that only every third shower is Jude washing, like, I want to make sure that it's defined.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
That's
for
not
a
the
myriad of
biblical
reasons,
leg.
thighs always get wrapped up in an all-time, everyday clean, right? Yeah, all-time, every day.
All-time, every day
Guaranteed
clean.
fresh.
Like
Like
you said, it like a salesman. Like, yeah, legs get wrapped up in an all-time every day clean.
we're going with the premium package on the legs. But this is the leg that's like, okay, I'm gonna scrub it every third day.
Sure. It's, to me, I don't think it's disgusting or crazy.
Okay.
But I will say it's logically inconsistent.
Let me just run this by you real quick. There are certain parts of your body
Sure.
that get dirtier quicker.
That's true.
That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that.
No, that doesn't.
I'm gonna leave it
matter.
at that. Hey, closing statements.
You know what? You're right.
I'm gonna push back on that.
Oh no!
Oh, here's the pushback.
I wear shorts almost exclusively, and one of the things that happens, the high school I work at, they have an in-ground urinal, so it's.
Oh.
And one of the things that happens, and feel free to, but like there is splash.
Yeah.
And you're acutely aware of where that splash goes when you are wearing shorts. And so that might be part of my problem is like there has to be a daily.
Any member
Shin.
of society who's a guy, that's totally valid. Because I'm assuming guys are using urinals. That's totally valid. I literally wear jeans, like pants. I never wear shorts.
Yeah, that's fair.
And denim is like carbon fiber. Nothing's getting through that. I mean, come on.
We're not even supposed to wash denim.
No.
Well, like cold water wash, right? You're not even supposed
You
to use
wash it 3
soap.
times in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, buy your jeans, you wear it the first day, then you wash it once. That's the first wash. Then halfway through its life cycle, you wash it again. And
What determines its life cycle?
how beat up you were making them. And then
Eugenics.
one more time on its like 3/4 life.
One more time, just before you're in your casket. So
No. So like,
So they're
first
nice and stiff.
day 1 or day 2, technically, halfway through, and then 3/4 through.
It's like
Their life.
oiling an axe
And-
handle. You do it once a month, or once a week.
But then
once a day.
Yeah. But then you put them in the freezer to do antibacterial. If you're a denim guy, this is like the denim.
I
rules.
wish I had nice jeans like that. Old Nate.
Antibacterial. If you're like have bacteria on it or something like that, you throw it in the freezer for a day and it freezes. It kills everything off. You pull them back out. You're good to go. And then if you have spots, so let's say you get a stain on them or something like that, you do a spot remover. You don't wash the whole.
I want to get to that point.
Is
in my
this just
appreciation
because
of
the
jeans.
health of the denim? Like
That's the
keeps
health.
it-
That's
okay.
like
yeah.
that's like
It's not like a-
perfection of the denim. No, what do? Wash them every time.
I wash them every day.
Oh,
I thought you were
same,
supposed to use starch to protect denim. Like there was like an old. Like
There might be
skirt.
other things too. I just know that as
Yeah,
their
yeah.
general.
I want to
rule,
get to that level of appreciation.
because that's like denim
jeans.
jackets,
'Cause I only
denim
wear 'em.
pants, denim
Yeah, I think I would
underwear.
care more about like a denim jacket or something.
Yeah.
But my jeans are just I wear them for work. I wear 'em for this, for that. I'm just gonna wash them.
Yeah.
And I buy $12 jeans from
Exactly.
Walmart.
That's right.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I go use their great bathroom.
But real quick, Jerry, how do you feel about the washing your legs?
Yeah.
I
Where's
think
your at?
I think that it's logically inconsistent for a great reason that you pointed out. It's like if you're going to do that, you might as well just put a bunch of soap on your head and just do this, right? I think it makes no sense to be like. I think there's some sense in the idea of like, well, some parts of your body get not as dirty as others, but then it's like, okay, if you're going to do that, if you're going to play that game, then you need to have a chart and you're quantifying the dirt levels of each parts of your body and you're washing these ones today versus these ones. Either go all in on it or don't do it at all.
That's what I'm doing. I
Well-
have it every 3 days.
No, because you're just picking one part. You're telling me that's the
Everything
only...
else gets scrubbed. I do.
No,
this
I'm
while I get my arm.
saying like, how in the world is that part of your leg the only part of your body that you're like, this one doesn't warrant scrubbing every time because the rest of my body soiled. But from here to here,
Not soiled. I could do the same thing with my arms. I genuinely like my forearms, which would be the equivalent. I think like this is my
look
arm.
how exposed your forearms are all the time, though.
They're not exposed all the time. I mean,
No,
I wear
you wear
long sleeves a
jackets.
lot. But like I could honestly, I believe the same thing, and I'd still be above the standard. Right.
But
of
in the grand
average
scheme
man.
of things, I don't think what you're doing is crazy. Like, if you were the person that was like, no, I agree with that guy that's like, I never washed them because
That's
it's always raining."
crazy.
That's
And never's.
You got pores on your legs.
Yes, because it's like you shouldn't be doing that with any part of your body. At least you're somewhere in the middle. It's strange to me
Yeah.
because it's like if you're going to wash your body, I don't think you can really come up with a reason that's like this is more effort or there's any reason. There's no positive reason not to wash your legs because like when you were talking, you said, well, so your skin could crack. It's like, yeah, but dude, you're telling me you're worried about the skin on your calves cracking.
The lack
It makes
of a
more
positive
sense.
is not a negative.
It makes more sense for you to say things like, well, I don't wash my face every day, or which still doesn't make sense, or I don't wash my arms, my hands because they could crack and people would see that and that would be difficult. But it's like your calves.
But they don't make as your face makes much more oil. It produces so much
True.
more, so you do need to wash every day. These don't. They don't produce the substance that literal dirt and bacteria cling onto the most, which is why we use soap to break down the oil. Like this just doesn't go through that. At least in my specific life, because of the jeans and because everything else.
Yeah.
My face does. I gotta wash like here, or else I always break out if I don't wash the cracks in between where my nose meets like
Yeah.
my face.
Yeah.
So much oil.
There's got to be a name for that spot.
There, I was just thinking, I was like,
Dude.
what could I even funnily, like, hilariously call it?
It has to be like a plural because it's.
Yeah.
I think it's two.
The
it's
nostril
two-
crevice, maybe?
The crevasses,
Yeah.
the valleys, or like the nasal valley.
the nasal valley.
It's really like the butt cheek of the face, kind of.
Yep.
I mean, that is not. I would say the mouth.
It's an
the cheeks are the
unfortunate-
butt cheeks of the face.
It's
Right?
unfortunately close to the nose to.
What a terribly
Well,
unfortunate
I
place
just-
for the.
All right,
Wash
let's
your
move
face
on.
every day.
Anyhow.
Is this the most potty talk you've had on the show yet, or is it like medium or?
I think so.
Cool.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. Is that an honor for you?
I'm just here. I'm ready to go.
I think that you're ready to go.
No. I'm ready to.
You're like, I'm here, but I'm ready to leave.
No.
Every
I
time we have a
think-
guest, we kind of chameleon to the persona non
Yeah.
grata. I have no idea what that
Oh,
means, but I
boy.
want to use it of the guest. We kind of
Perfect.
morph to that. And since you are the ultimate authority, we've kind of put ourselves beneath to say like,
All right.
now look at our experience.
Yeah.
I do
Bathroom
want our
one.
guest episodes to be, and I've noticed that they are like this. It's like, it's not so much that we are asking our guests to adhere to us, I mean, in entirety, because we always have, I mean, the only way that would matter is like keeping it family friendly, but we always
Yeah.
have Christians on, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But like, we do that, you know, like when Gaga was here, you know, it's like the show is different. The show is more like how he would be.
Analytical, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Not that this is everything that constitutes you is just the potty time.
Hey.
Yeah. Is that difficult? Like, do you feel like because of your show now, you're relegated to this? You're the bathroom guy? Is it like when people go, oh, we should talk about bathroom stuff because Hunter's here, you're just like, oh.
No, actually, it's a 50-50. It's either that or it's people avoid talking to me about just anything but small talk because they're afraid that I'm going to get intrusive. And I'm like, listen, I'll only get intrusive with your consent in a bathroom, and you'll know it because I'll be like, hey, do you want to record? But I have definitely had pushback. Like, so like I work at a church, I work at a high school, and there's definitely been, hey, you know, is this the topic that you want? And I've danced around that to try to figure out. I try to make the show as family friendly as you can be, and still talk about going to the bathroom some. I think in the early days of it, there were some episodes where it's like, you know, there's mild language here, and I censored some of it going back, and that was, you know, and a guest is on, and they're telling their stories, and it's like, oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? But yeah, I find more like people send me things. They send me videos or pictures of things that they've seen bathroom related, and some of them are really cool, and it's like, oh man, I'm going to share that, and others are like, why? I don't want that picture. I don't want this one, and that's fine. Like, but you know, I've kind of done that to myself, but it has been interesting, especially in the church world of the congregation that I attend and serve is primarily older. So like, and I'm not going to speak for all people of that generation, but podcasts are kind of different to them. And so a lot of them, they know of it, but they don't know it. But some of the younger folks, there has been questions of like, should you be doing this and doing ministry? And I'm like, well, I'm going to say yes, because I am. But also, it's, you know, there's potty talk in the Bible. It's not featured prominently,
Right.
but they're in there.
Well, I think when you say potty talk, I think that's a term that can be used sometimes for other things too.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're referring to like just discussing the existence of the bathroom and just things that go on in the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's kind of a stigma around it. So do you have a
The
philosophy
social
that's...
zeitgeist, like you're.
Right.
Yeah. Is it that you have a philosophy that you're like, I think these things should be talked about more, or...
I do. This might be getting... So I've worked with teenagers, a number of which, due to trauma, it it spills out in their bathroom lives, for lack of a better way of saying it. And one of the barriers that I found is it actually was made worse by their inability to, well, I don't want to tell you about, like, I had an accident. I don't want to talk about that because it's more. And it's like, okay, but also, you know, your situation's different. And so there's that stigma that I've seen. There's also just being a janitor. I was a janitor for 10 years, and there is definitely a stigma towards custodial staff of like, I don't want that job. That's something that I work with young adults. I pitch to them all the time. Hey, you know, custodial staff are hiring. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to clean up. And it's like, man, it's an awesome, like, I loved it. The only reason I quit doing it was because I literally didn't have time to keep doing it. And so there's that little social stigma. But it's also just, I mean, and everybody goes to the bathroom. And, you know, everybody's more or less comfortable to a different degree of talking about what goes on in there. And I won't ever force that hand. But it's kind of that, not misery loves company, but, oh, you know, somebody else, like, can't eat Applebee's because they know it's going to be a game over every time. And there's camaraderie in that for some reason. I guess it is misery loves company, but...
Yeah, I mean, the Applebee's example for sure.
Yeah. People harsh on Taco Bell. It's not Taco Bell.
No.
To me, it's not.
Taco Bell's never given me a problem. No, there are those choice, like, family dives or diners or things like that those are the problem. And they're just, they're sneaking by socially and nobody's calling them out, you know, but everybody knows it's a crime. You know?
I think, I don't want to, you know, totally pivot, but one that doesn't get discussed about, but the moment you bring it up, everyone kind of is in agreement, is Arby's. Like, I never really hear people talking about its direct effect on you in terms of Privy, but most people tend to agree. Always.
Really? I've never experienced Arby's.
Really? I love it, but it's the same way. About your podcast, I don't want to just like blow smoke, but in terms of comedy, I think one of the greatest things in comedy is when you can make someone excited to feel uncomfortable. And so like when I'm on your show and I'm like, oh, you just said this thing and we're sharing stories. I have this incredibly funny story, or at least I think it's funny, but I'm like the butt of it. So it makes me uncomfortable, but I want to share that. I think that's super cool. And I think, I mean, potty humor, whether you like it or not, is like one of the most super based. One of the earliest forms of comedy everyone experiences as a child. It's like fart, poop, and pee. So when you're able to do that with class, like, which, you know, regardless of what you want to say, the podcast has this level of like, you perfectly ride the line of, at least where it's at now. I mean, you never go too far. It's not super self-indulgent in like grotesque nature, but you're like discussing like embarrassment and what was the word we used with it? Like vulnerability with people. So you do it with an air of like, if nothing else, you know, maybe you don't want to say class, but like organized structure. And that's impressive. Like that's a feat to look at and like be impressed by, because it's the first form of humor that everyone gets into, but you're doing it with refinement.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the other thing is I've gotten to know people not like in their bathroom stories, but those are usually attached to something of like, so like in your Jude, in your example, like you told these stories about, you know, hitting these rest stops as you drive in truck. And it's like, I didn't realize you're driving truck as far as you were. Like you get a little picture into people's lives. Especially a lot of people have stories from childhood, and sometimes you really get into what it was like being them, like growing up. And but you're spot on. That early humor, like my son's 6, and I never sat him down and was like, here's a bathroom joke, but this is why it's funny. He just knows that it's funny. Like there's something funny about it. And
usually where kids go wrong, it's like is they don't understand what is overindulgent. It's like, well, you don't run in when we're at the dinner table and talk about this terrible thing. But as an adult, you're like, well, no, now I have the ability to look at this type of humor and go, well, here's actually where it is funny and where it's funny to share. And that's what the podcast, I think that's super impressive with the podcast. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and the show, I'm just baffled by the history of what people have been doing and have done. And I feel like every time I sit down, I'm like, well, I learned more than I wanted. And I'll share a percentage of it. But yeah,
I learned more than I wanted, and I'll share a percentage of it. Yeah, I think, I mean, I got to be honest, I agree with Jude. I think that it's the sorts of things where you go, everybody experiences this genre of situation, or whatever you want to call it, right? There are things that we all experience. And then there are things about that experience that are unique to everyone, right? And so when you can discuss those things, it's wonderful. But then socially, we do have this stigma around like, well, I'm not going to talk about that because, it's in the bathroom. And I think to a certain extent, it's like, okay, be respectful. Like you're just saying, it's like, be respectful. We're not sitting there just like, repeating the word poop 10 times and then laughing like idiots. But it's like you can talk about it and be like, well, everybody, what's that old kids book, Everybody Poops or whatever, right? It's like, dude, yeah, we all do it. Let's not pretend like you don't go to the bathroom. And so sometimes funny things happen, or maybe profound things, right? Forget shower thoughts. I think your podcast has revealed to me it's a bathroom thought thing. Right? Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of thoughts that happen in
that
there.
Like what gets associated with that mindset in the shower is really just any time you're in that safety of the bathroom.
Yeah. And there is a weird cocoonness, of that is the bathroom. That
the
is
longer
like,
you're in there, the less you want to leave.
Yeah,
You become
and there's a strange safety.
Yeah, sure.
At least when it's your home bathroom, because I know that it's like when I'm out and about, I'm never sitting like, you know what I want to do? Be in that bathroom for a long time. Right. But if I'm like driving home and I have to go to the bathroom, I'm just thinking about the sweet comfort that is awaiting me, and knowing that the privacy of my own restroom is awaiting me,
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than when you're on the way home from work or something, you got 15 minutes, like I can easily make it 15 minutes and it's worth it because it's my bathroom, Yeah. It's a sanctum. And as you're driving, you get there and somebody's in there. And then you knock and you're like,
Crime.
hey, and then they're like, oh, I just came in here. I just walked in, and you're like, oh no.
Oh, it's going to be game over.
Oh no. I should have stopped at Burger King, which would have been a horrible experience, but
the moment you sat down, you'd be like, I'm safe.
You're safe.
As long as you're alone, like pretty much any bathroom is like, you're dreading it if it's public, but then the moment you sit down, you're like, but I'm here.
Yeah. But I'm here.
We made it. We made it, boys. We got them.
The bathrooms at Oregon State, there's the open ones that are like men and women, and then there's the gender neutral bathrooms.
Gotcha.
They have a special lock on them. That's amazing. But you go in, it has like a wave your hand lock that opens.
Just on the gender
door.
neutral ones?
Yeah.
What is that saying?
Well, it's weird. And then you push. There is a button you push, and there's some weird stuff, and it locks it all down. So like the bathroom cannot be entered at all. And it's one person in there, and that's like the sanctuary space.
Oh, it's like a
That's
family
nice.
restroom.
It's a family restroom.
I thought you were saying it's one of the new
it's a gender neutral is what they call it, but it's a family bedroom.
Multifunction also serves
it's
as like the
yeah.
Okay.
So at one point it was the handicap family one, and now they're
Probably.
saying it's
gender neutral bathrooms,
Gotcha.
and that's how they're disclosed on all the maps when you try to find them.
And they take your identity when you use it? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And they take your social security number and spit tests. No, but when you walk in, you lock it down. The bathroom locks up, and it's just you.
Yeah.
In a bathroom.
Huh.
And it's so nice.
Yeah. Oh, man, ain't that
And
the best.
okay, I'm disclosing something about myself. We had to wear masks for COVID and everything like that. You walk in there, you take off your mask.
Oh, 100%.
And you're like this.
It's a sanctum.
And I'm like, I don't want to leave. I have 10 minutes until class starts. I'm in here.
Yeah.
Oh, how good are those
that's
10
clever.
minutes, man?
But-
how long are those 10 minutes?
Oh,
Not long
Just-
enough.
not long enough.
I feel like
It's
relief.
bliss.
It's bliss.
Except Link building. That's one of our special buildings. Link building, 3rd floor bathroom. Don't go to that one. The toilet's broke. And
What?
so when you sit down on it, it's only held on by one bolt. when I was there. And so like you sit down, it's one of the floating ones that doesn't have anything underneath it.
no.
It's
Oh, my
mounted in the wall, and it has bolts here, bolts here.
Who thought that was a good
this
idea?
bolt right here is still holding, and the silicone around
goodness.
it. So when you sit on it, it goes,
Oh, yes.
and I'm like this. Oh, I just messed up. I literally got to go, but I just messed up because I chose the wrong bathroom.
That's somebody's canon
So
event.
what
waiting
you're
to happen.
doing-
That is a.
It's
You're
life
like you're
altering.
floating above it, with every
kinda-
bit of strength.
You have
You're doing
to use
a wall
the quads.
sit.
Oh my goodness!
The
If you had
quads
to-
are in fact. I'm not actually full float, but you're like your quads are in fact because you're like this.
Yeah.
If I put any pressure, this thing's gonna go, and it's fully loaded right now.
You're
And then-
essentially sitting on a pressure plate to like a landmine.
Exactly. It's bad.
And using the restroom.
But I parked like a mile and a half away, and I had to walk in, and I'm like, my class is in Link. Yes, I could use the bathrooms. So I walk in, first floor, taken. Second floor, taken. Go up to the third floor, not doing that one. Go up the fourth floor, taken. Fifth floor, taken. I'm like, I'm sunk. I have to go to the third floor. So I go back all the way down to the
Everybody
bottom,
knows.
check the first one, check the second one, go to the third one. You're like, okay, here we go.
Oh man.
But yeah,
You need to get,
that
like,
bathroom.
Right. You need to get something that you can hook around the stall so you can hold yourself up.
I wish, but it's like a 5x5 concrete barrier bunker.
Wouldn't that be easier? Oh, that's
And so
ridiculous.
What
it's
is that saying?
open.
It's like danger all ye who enter, or like
Yeah,
what is that thing from Lord of the Rings? An elven above the door. You got to read it to get in.
to the mines of Moria?
Lions of Moria, speak friend and enter, but
Yeah. So
How
maybe
do
not
we get
that-
in here?
You have to say the magic of this world.
Yeah. No, if only if only you were Spider-Man.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was that is a bathroom. They're amazing. There's a couple other ones in other buildings. They're
Yeah.
just blissful because they actually have a lock. Like you push the button and like bolts go in and locks the door.
I ran him through the same swamp encounter with an alligator that I did like a year before.
I never forgot the stats I made up for that alligator.
I don't. So you were talking earlier about how it seemingly provides, let's see, breaking down the barriers a little bit, right? This type of discussion has provided you maybe an in with certain students. Is that what you're saying? So my question is, I guess maybe not elaborate on that situation necessarily unless you want to, but like, is this something that you found has helped you in some ways in ministry? Like this type of attitude, or do you like take this forward and use it? Because you obviously referenced that you're in ministry, so I'm assuming, right? Like you're talking about youth pastoring, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I work with, I mean, my formal position is like 6th grade up through college age.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I also do stuff like with the kids. And as far as how it has helped me in ministry, it's not, I don't know how many of my high school and middle school age students are aware. I mean, it's not that I got a bumper sticker. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm not hiding it, and it's not they're unaware. That age isn't super podcasty. Like
Yeah, I've noticed.
It's more that young adult demographic. With the young adults, I have found that they're a little more open with me, even about stuff like when you start talking about sin and things that are going on in your life. There is not a barrier that's broken down because of that, but it's like, well, like Hunter can handle it type almost feel. With the teens, it kind of is more of a, I don't want, it's not clout is not the word, but it's, Hunter's not, he's not like he plays Pokemon and
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know what the right word is, but it's,
Yeah.
he's not going to dunk on me because I listen to this music. Now, I might say, hey, there's better music that would be more beneficial to your life and your walk, but there have been those barriers that have been busted down. But like I said, it's kind of 50-50 because I found that there are some people that are like, hey, I don't know how I feel about it. And really, I've just told them, I was like, oh, feel free to just ignore all of this completely. Don't listen to it. I'm like the worst person at plugging my things. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. I've got a buddy. He just wants to talk about the fact that I do this all the time. And I'm like, dude, I appreciate it. I don't know how to engage.
I'm not good at it either.
I don't know how to engage that. But yeah, It has definitely been, and like having to learn audio and having to learn, not communication, because you already kind of have to do that, but there is a barrier that you have to kind of get through of, you know what, I've talked about this awkward thing on the internet. I can absolutely, you know, I think you guys have talked on the show before of like when you share Christ with someone,
Yes.
there is sometimes, whether you should feel it or not, there is this barrier of, am I going to impose on their time, on their day, that is felt. And it does help like bridge that to where, you know, like my coworkers, I've got the gamut. I've got Christians all the way down to like starkly against it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, you know, just being able to say, yeah, I believe in Jesus. This is what I believe and why I believe it. It kind of helps address that. Forcing myself to do this show has caused me to kind of face that. Like, well, I don't really want to talk about this story, but I probably should because people have told me it's funny. That skill stretches a similar muscle as a barrier to, well, I feel like I should be talking to this person about this not funny, kind of serious thing right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of indirectly, but
Yeah, that's kind of what I was curious to get at, is like, because it seems like, that's why I asked earlier, do you maybe have a personal philosophy that things like this we should be more open to talking about them? Because I do wonder, and I've thought about this before, just about a lot of things. There are a lot of things that when you really think about them, you're like, well, logically, where is, I don't know, deficiencies? Like, where's the problem with discussing this topic, right? There's a ton of them. Some of them wrap up, I guess, into politics, and others wrap up into this and that. And I think one of them is just like the existence of the bathroom, right? Like, there is this kind of like, are there just certain people who just pretend like we don't do that? And I've wondered, you know, like, does that sort of mentality, because you know there are two types of people. There are the people that like, what if this would make someone uncomfortable? And sometimes I fall on that side. It's like, well, then I have to avoid it at all costs. And then there are the people that just, you know, those real brazen people that it's not rude. It's just that I will talk about anything and I have no problem doing it. And as long as we do it respectfully. But they're like, yeah, I can talk about anything. And I've wondered, it's like, those seem like the people that are more effective at sharing the gospel.
yeah,
And so there has to be an overlap, right? To where your brain is, or it's a confidence thing. It has to be, right? And Jude talks about, right, just farting with confidence or whatever.
That's
Okay.
Right?
Well, let's not paraphrase.
No, we don't need to go.
All right.
But like,
well, we kind of
no, it's like, it has to be wrapped up in confidence and things like that.
Yeah, I think so. Especially nowadays, one of the first ways to show that you're having like a good faith conversation with someone, or to be like super open, which is really important when you're sharing the gospel. You want to show that like, hey, I'm being intentional and I'm being honest. Well, you can be vulnerable. So being vulnerable means either opening a door, or giving something up, like a piece of information, and saying, hey, this was something that was behind and now it's in front. I'm showing it you. I'm putting myself in a place where you know something kind of around me. You know, you're opening yourself
behind
up.
the curtain.
I don't need to be so romantic. Yeah. But potty humor is an immediate way, and if handled correctly, it doesn't break the social norm, where you can be like, oh man. And if you don't take yourself too seriously, this thing happened, blah, blah, blah. Immediately, the person who's listening to you recognizes this person is being completely honest with me and vulnerable with me. So the things they are saying, they must be intentional with, right? Because they must be careful with what they're saying and earnest with what they're saying, because they're dealing with something around which they're very vulnerable. So it just, for me, I think being open about that to the people who are listening immediately makes it come across that, oh, you're being genuine because you're willing to not take yourself too seriously and look at this like embarrassing but ha-ha thing that happened. Yeah. And, you know, this sounds silly, but if in all things you do, you aim to glorify God, like, well, how do I tell a joke that in some way glorifies God? Well, I tell a joke that makes the people who hear it understand that I'm being earnest and genuine, so that when I do speak about things that are important, they listen. And so I don't know if that kind of went with what you were saying.
No, I think it's like, I want to make sure we're clear. I don't believe we're implying that the people who are effectively sharing the gospel must also be people who are willing to talk about going to the bathroom. No, in no way am I implying that. Like, of course, people have been successfully and effectively evangelizing for thousands of years, right? And doing so where it's like, you're doing it, and it's not like you're the type of person that's like, dude, I just took a massive dump. You don't have to be.
But in the world where this niche exists of making these jokes with some level of organization, it can behoove your interactions with people.
Sure, I think that what we're hitting on is like, there's an element of being a person who is willing to just be vulnerable with people, who's willing to just be genuine and to like talk about things with intention, right? That sort of practice, which seems to come with the idea of breaking barriers down, social barriers down a little bit, that, you know, you're going to more effectively share the gospel, because there is, like you were saying before, there is that like, oh man, we know we shouldn't feel this way, but like, I believe I should share this with them, but I don't want to hamper their day or make them uncomfortable, or I already know how they feel. And it's like, that's absolutely the devil, you know, right? Like putting birds in our branches, like we've said before, but, you know, dissuading us from furthering the kingdom of God. But, no, I think it's fascinating. And I think that it's cool to be a person who thinks about, in everything you do, I think, well, it's more than cool, but who thinks about like in everything you do it to glorify God. And so that means like, how can I just have normal conversations with people and it be glorifying to God? And I think one way that you can do that is just be genuine with people, right? And don't shy away from like making someone, you know, feel comfortable just in conversation with you. And I think that there's something to be said about having genuine friendships with people and good conversation with them so that they know that they can trust you in the future. And sometimes that might mean you have a conversation with someone where you're like, dude, you know, I heard this happened, or like let them feel comfortable in sharing something. And it kind of seems like that's what you were saying too, right? With students, where they feel comfortable sharing things with you because they know, oh yeah, Hunter, you said like Hunter can handle it or whatever, right?
Yeah. A lot of them, they say, well, I feel like it's a safe spot to share this, is what I hear from kids.
Right.
And it's not just myself. Like there's lots of adults in their lives that they say that of, but, and especially like in the realm of church, and I think it's unfortunate. There are certain things that are like, kids don't want to talk about them because they're afraid of what this adult is going to do as the fallout of me having uttered this sentence.
Right.
And, it's one of those where, you know, you listen and there's a time to address it, but usually in the moment of I've shared the thing that is very clearly difficult for them to share. Yeah. It's like, give them time to have processed the fact that they were brave enough to voice, you know, doubt, sin, whatever it is that they've brought up. That's kind of giving people the opportunity to live in it. That's tough.
I think that's super important, right? Especially in your position, like what you do, like being somebody that kids are willing to talk about things and be vulnerable. And I got a question for you. So you're in ministry. Why are you in ministry?
I am in ministry because, and this is probably almost a tale as old as time for a lot of people, but when I was in high school, I had a youth pastor. His name was Joe Noel. He lives out in the East Coast now.
Wait, Jonah Whale?
Joe Noel.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, like kind of like Christmas time Noel.
He got a really Christian name. His name is Jonah Whale.
Yeah. But he was this youth pastor that he tried to make those connections with us as individuals. He cared about our lives, and it was so captivating to me. My testimony of that is, you know, I grew up in the church, but I never really made my faith my own until I'd say kind of high school, which is where he was like, hey, listen, what are you going to do with this? Like, I'm glad you believe it. That's great. What are you going to do with it? Because that's kind of where you're going to show, is this yours or are you kind of piggybacking your mom and dad? And he really challenged us. And he also, you know, he stood for trying to do what was right, to the point where at one point he did lose his job for trying to do what was right. And never told us a word about it until years later when we asked him, and just, you know, and so he was one of these people where I was like, man, this has been so impactful on my life that I love working with teenagers and young people. They're just they're in that very vulnerable, but also so much hope and potential as part of their lives, where it's like it's energizing, especially to see what God does through young people. That I was like, I just want to be a part of this, and I feel like people call like, oh, I felt God calling me. I've never heard the audible voice. I've never seen, but I had this deep sense that working with teens is what I should be doing. And so I went to school for it, and it's kind of one of those where God has kind of changed the trajectory of working with youth multiple times. I like the ministry thing is moderately recent. I was working mental health, like therapeutic foster care, mentoring with kids. I think I was doing that when I met you, and I never thought I was going to be doing that. And here's God's like, yeah, you want to work with teens? This is another group of teens. And I'm like, man. And so that's kind of where it came from, is just having had that impact in my life. And like now I'm at a high school working with special education kids who have behaviors, and it's a different demographic, different group, but it's working with teens. And that's kind of tough because, at the school you can, but the degree to which you will get sanctioned with outrightly sharing the gospel is varying levels. And so a lot of it is kind of that, I can't remember what saint, but it's like you share the gospel through your life and how you live. And if they ask, it's gloves off. Like, well, since you asked, I'm happy to tell you. But so it's definitely been, that's kind of why I got into ministry. And I don't foresee it ending anytime soon. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. I think so. You said I didn't realize that. So in the school situation, I know that you can't really go in and you can't be outright talking about the gospel or things like that. But if a student asks you, are you allowed to kind of, are you just allowed to stay in the lane of answering their specific question? Or like, are you allowed to just kind of dive into like, well, I go to church and I believe this and this is why,
because when you work at the school, you're an agent of the state during that time. And so, you're not supposed to establish a belief that would suggest you're trying to get them to believe that.
Okay.
But because the Bible is based in history, a lot of times they run at it from well, what is the Bible? And it's like, well, historically the Israelites, and I run at it from that angle of trying to have this conversation, and it doesn't happen often. But kids have questions about heaven and hell. If something that they have done is a sin, or if they're allowed to do, if Jesus is going to be mad if I do this, that I get that one. And I get it because like kids have like this, my principals and a lot of the kids know that I'm a youth pastor,
right?
A 5-minute walk down the road from where and so it's one of those, I'm not, during those times, I'm not proselytizing in the sense of, hey, have you ever thought of like believing in Jesus? What would that, but it's, I believe in Jesus. I know other people who do. Historically, like these are some people who have, and I don't know if officially that's what I'm allowed to do.
Right.
I have found that falls, I haven't had any trouble.
Right.
And it's different. The students too.
Yeah.
Like I have some students where I know that conversation is not from a place of, oh, they're interested, they want to know this. It's from a place of, I want to see what I can get you to say so I can go repeat it to mom.
Really?
And that's not to speak ill of my students. That is just my experience that has happened. I've seen it happen with other staff.
Really?
And so you kind of have to be savvy to that of, oh, this question seems to be in good faith.
Right.
But yeah.
You're in a situation where, you get to live it out, right? And live as an example. And so if and when that question comes up, you can substantiate your life and the example that you've been living with belief, right? And and can explain it And I think that that's tremendous. I don't think that I've heard an opinion that is, well, Christians shouldn't go into work where they're not allowed to share the gospel, right? Or like, outwardly, because it's like the idea is you're limiting yourself in the sense that you now can't do what as a believer you are called to do, or you should go into those jobs and just like tear it up, like walk in and just break the rules. And it's also like, okay, I disagree. I think that Christians should be serving in these areas, because when they're not, well, the fact of the matter is you have kids who are going to these places, some of them from partially Christian homes or not. And if they're going to that place and all we're doing as believers is going, we are staying out of the public school system, then it's like, okay, who's left to work there? Only unbelievers, only the ones that are going to further distance children from God, right? And we had a guest episode when we were just audio. It was our pastor, and we talked about, what do we call it? Like Christian sleeper agents or something in Hollywood, essentially.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like, I think our conclusion to that was we should essentially all seek to be that in at least some category. And there are going to be situations where all believers are going to be in where we know, okay, for whatever reason, we can't just be outwardly sharing the gospel. I can't wear a shirt that says Jesus saves on it, or I can't, just be handing out gospel tracts, right? But you're living by example, you're leading by example, and then you're essentially planting seeds, because even if they never bring the question up with you, like the great thing about what you're doing is that question may come up with somebody else because of your example, because God has used you in that way. And I think that's so tremendous. Like, I think that what you're doing, and I think what other people are doing, Christians in public schools, it's so important, because I hear plenty of stories of people saying like, oh yeah, I'm saved because of a teacher I had in high school who I found out later was a Christian. And then, or people just say like, yeah, my life is totally different now because of my history teacher in high school, who actually took an interest in me. Like that story you have about a youth pastor, right? Sometimes those people are teachers. And and I got to say, I love the reason why you're in ministry. I mean, for me, I'm not in ministry in the same way, or maybe as formally as you are. But I have a similar experience growing up that has made me realize that it's what I should be doing, at least in some capacity. Even if the rest of my life it's only in this capacity where I'm volunteering part of my time to help further an online ministry and to do a podcast and things like that, then that's great, because I'm doing it for God. But maybe in the future it will be something I do more officially. But I have a similar experience. It's like I want to serve God in that way, because I know, I was just talking to somebody about this week. I know that there's certain areas of my life where I'm working, right? Whether it's this business or others, where it's work, But when I'm talking to like a 19-year-old kid from Toronto, Canada, or a 20-year-old kid from Toronto, Canada, who I met because he found our online community and he's struggling with this and he doesn't have a church and he's not talking to people in his life, and then he's talking to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, this is significant, right? I'm in a situation where this guy has things that are going on, things that he's scared of, maybe things he's ashamed of, whatever, and he's talking to me about them. Okay, if God put me here, like, what am I doing here? And all these questions are running through my head. But it's in those situations where I've never believed more that I was like, that things just made sense, like where I was supposed to be. And I come out of them going like, some of them I come out of them feeling like, whoa, I lost. Like, whoa, I didn't help that guy. I tried and I didn't. And other times you come out of it going like, wow, okay, God used me, and I think God helped that guy and used me to do it.
Right.
But whether I come out of it in either of those situations, I come out of it going like, me being there, that made sense. Like that was what I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And I don't know if that's maybe what.
Yeah. No. That's.
Oh my goodness, it's so loud.
I think that's what a lot of, like, when they say, I feel God calling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, and you guys can do it, but I'm not saying that people don't have that experience.
I understand.
It is not my experience.
Yeah.
But I have felt that I've more, it's like a tug. Like, this seems right. This feels right. And you get those more in certain areas of your life than others. Like I woke, well, what do I need to have for breakfast today? You know, it's,
God was calling me to the Cheerios.
yeah. Was he?
No.
You know, but it's like, or is it bad pizza? You know what I'm saying? But there's those times where this is a different feeling. I don't normally experience this when I'm making a decision.
Right.
This decision seems significant compared to the last one I made. And as a result, that's when, like, as believers, I think it's, do I respond in faith and see what God does with it? Or do I, chalk it up to this is just some weird feeling?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the task of the believer in that moment of discerning. I don't even think there's any harm in, well, I think it's from God. I'm going to move on it. And I think you'll find out pretty quick if it's not.
Yeah.
I think that's what's most important, right? Is that, we don't live our life strictly by our feelings, right? However, there are times where, like, maybe the English language just fails to have a better word for it, but where we just like, I feel like this is what God wants.
Right.
And then, sometimes you don't have the luxury of being able to not make a split-second decision, but often you do. And so if you can pray about it, and in those situations, like, I find myself now just going, well, I'm going to spend time in prayer. I'm going to go to places in the Bible that I think would specifically maybe address, at least closely, to what this decision is. And then I'm going to talk to people I trust that might also be able to guide me to places in the Bible like that as well. But then when all that's said and done, and you're still, like, wrestling with a decision, or whether it's like, should I be serving in this way or whatever it is, and I find myself in a situation like that right now, if I'm being honest. But it's like, sometimes, for lack of a better word, it is just a feeling. And I'm the type of person who criminally will regularly be of the opinion just in the back of my head that's like, well, a decision between two things approached me, and one of them immediately seemed right. Must not be that one then.
Right.
I have to complicate it, right? Because then it's like, well, now I'm agonizing over this decision for 2 months. And here we are, or 2 years maybe. And I'm like, well, at the beginning, the one that seemed like the godly decision was this. And the other one didn't necessarily seem like sin, but it's like, I have to make a decision between these two things. The other one, though, has these detractors, or has these things that if I don't do it, like, it's going to feel badly. But this one seemed like the right one.
Right.
And then I go through this whole long process of trying to figure it out, praying about it, talking to people that I trust, and just asking God regularly to make it clear. And if this is the case, then give me an opportunity for this, right? Like if there's an opportunity for this to be the right decision, I will take it. And then, okay, here's that opportunity. I'm still wrestling with it. And then I just go, like I was talking to Perry about it recently, like I just realized I'm just the type of person who goes, I have to overcomplicate it, because if there's not suffering involved, it must be the wrong decision. Or like, if it's not, like, if the decision isn't full of complications and difficulty, then, I've just got my brain wired to believe that all the right decisions have to be the hard ones or have to be the complicated ones. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that other than like,
no, it's tough.
It's like when you have that calling, I think that might be a great way of defining it. Some people do just throw out that phrase like, I just felt like God was calling me to it. And sometimes I wonder what they mean. Like, 'cause some people would say, yeah, I heard the voice of God tell me be a pastor. And it's like, okay, all right. Well, I mean, I believe you. Like, that's tremendous. And I'm glad that you're doing it. Especially if that's what happened, I'm certainly glad you're obeying. But I found myself at times being jealous. Like, man, I wish that's what it was like. Or just waiting like, well, unless it's not that, then it must not be the calling of God. And I don't think that that's true at all.
Right. I think the other thing, and this is, I think it's of value, especially when church leaders say that they feel called. I think it's of value for the congregants or, whatever elders, whatever church governing body oversees them to question that, not in a well, we don't believe you, but
Right.
just to genuinely get a sense of, well, what do you mean? Because and that's the other thing is I've unfortunately seen, and it doesn't take long. A Google search doesn't take long to produce the results of probably well-intentioned people of God who have used that phrase to, for lack of a better, sway or convince another group of well-intentioned Christians into allowing them some authority.
Yeah.
And that it might be credible, but I think especially, I feel like there's no short of documentaries on the church right now.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that happens is you get this guy in these documentaries who seems like and I think they're well-intentioned at first a lot of times, but they have some sort of authority that people have chosen to give them, and it's usually attached to they perceive that God has called them to it, or they have said themselves, I have been called to this. And it's kind of a catch-22. And probably because of that, I tend away from the idea of calling. I do believe God calls people, but I tend away towards talking about it in like my ministry in my life often, because it's like, well, I don't know what that looks like. you know. And you were saying something about like this struggle between two things. I can't remember who we had a Bible teacher on. I do another thing with it's a nonprofit that he's trying to kick off, but he talked about this like choosing between the good and the best, and this idea of like sometimes like God presents us with multiple opportunities, and when you look at them, it's like, man, these both seem great, and neither of these is a bad choice, but what is God's will? And it's just kind of like discerning, and he kind of boiled it down to asking yourself in what way, which of these can best advance the gospel and the kingdom, gives me the most opportunity, but it's kind of landed on. But if you did choose the other, it's not that you have sinned, or it's just, God gave you. Remember, we're getting into some like free will and
go for it.
But like God gave you some agency in options.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, whether he did or not,
right?
Like even if he didn't, then that decision was his, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah, spoken like a no. There you go.
You're fine. Like when a good thing, when it seems like both outcomes are good, that doesn't make the choice between the outcomes arbitrary. You should still go for what like God is clearly has a set path and I wasn't trying to comment on the
nope, you're fine. I
accidentally used set path, and I wasn't trying to like
and so my background, I came from a pretty reformed I say came from, I still hold a lot of those views, but like the church I grew up in, they were Calvinists to the max,
right?
And so I
like that phrase, Calvinist to the max.
I mean, they're like 6.5 point. I tell you, it's
really
it's wild.
6.5.
Yeah, they take some of them and they stretch them so far that it seems that they've almost created
another point.
Yeah, which I'll have to square it up with Calvin in glory, but it's like, I don't know if this was your
square up
intent.
with Calvin.
But I don't know if this was your intent when you had all these thoughts years ago.
Yeah.
But
there's gonna be a few Calvinists that show up, and he's like,
What?
This Calvin,
yeah. Which
He's
one?
like, dude, it's tulip, not tulips.
Yeah. Yeah, for real though. That's so good.
one tulip.
Singular. Yeah.
5 letters, not 6.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and like you were saying, it's between if it's between two decisions. What did you say? A good and the best?
Yeah, I think that's what he called it.
I think that's a great way of putting it. Like, it's still good. And if the decision, like, let's say you make it thinking it's the best, but you made the decision that was the good one rather than the best, I mean, it's still your responsibility to, in everything you're doing in that, to glorify God and to do it for Him, right? So whether you're just like working a factory job or something like that, it's like, okay, you need to be thinking about how you can be doing that for Him, right? And I do tend to agree with the statement that like the one you should decide is the one that which one will give me the most opportunity to further the kingdom of God, because in the grand scheme of things, right, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do. And you said earlier something about, you know, whether people are really called or not, or whatever that looks like. It's like, well, in the overall, I mean, all believers are called to make disciples, right? We're all called at least to serve.
Whether or not you're feeling that supernatural force or
exactly.
that
Whether or not you're feeling that tug to
we all have
ministry.
a base commandment, and it is too.
We are all called to serve.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that maybe just remembering that is probably pretty important from the get-go. It's like, in whatever decision I'm making, I'm called to serve. And so if one of them is a more of an opportunity to serve, or to serve God more fully, that is where I should be going. And sometimes that's just hard. You know, sometimes that's really difficult.
It's very simple, but not easy.
Yeah, it's very simple, but not easy. And sometimes it's like, it's really scary. But you know, that's where we just lay that at the feet of Jesus. And one of my favorite sermon series is one by, you know, mutual friend of the show, Mr. Matthew Canary. You know, titled Only Jesus. And he talks a lot about how God will break you down. Well, I don't know if that's maybe his exact words, but it's like he will strip you of the things that are interfering until you are left with only one option. It is only Jesus, right? It is like these things that are getting in the way of me growing or connecting with him, these things that are getting in the way of me serving him. There will come a point where if you are seeking him, like you're left with only him. You have to rely on only him. And I mean, I guess to get personal for a second, like I've been talking a lot about this sort of thing with various people the last a while. And I believe about my life right now that I shared with my dad recently, like in every element of my life, whether it's work or relationships or friendships or whatever it is, I am at a point where I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't mean to say that in the sense that like I'm just running willy-nilly, just doing, I'm not even being intentional. I'm being very intentional, more than I think I have been in the history of my life. And somehow by being more intentional, I found myself at a point where in every avenue, I don't know how to do it. Like I don't have the answers. And there have been times in my life where I think I had the answers, and it's surprisingly when my life was failing more. But like now I'm at a point where I don't have any of the answers. I don't know how to tackle all of these avenues. And so all I have left is only Jesus. Because I know, well, I don't have the answers, and the only one that does is him. And I think that if I'm at a point where I can recognize that I don't know what's happening, I don't know how to do it, and that only he's going to get me through it, it's probably a pretty good place to be. But man, it's terrifying. I gotta admit, like, it's real terrifying, you know, because some of it's about like those big decisions or whatever, and some of it's just like, you know, how much in the past, in the history of my life, have I just tried to control everything and have all the answers all the time, and now I'm trying not to do that and realizing, well, I never had him anyway, and so it's just God, and that's it's simple but difficult.
Yeah, ain't that the point? And it's so great that it's so terrifying.
Yeah,
because that's all the scaffolding that normally you put up that isn't there, and you're just like, God.
But it should stand to encourage us at the same. What should stand to encourage us at the same time is that like we say it's terrifying because of the element of like we're letting go. Right?
Yes.
That's what makes it terrifying, right? We as people we want to control everything, but we have to let go. But what shouldn't be terrifying is the person that we're letting go and like giving it to is God, the God of the universe, right? So, you know, man, I wish I wasn't imperfect. Like I wish I could get past that and just completely let go more effectively because when you think about it logically or even mathematically, it's like, but the person I'm letting go and giving all to is God. And I do believe he can and will and can do anything and everything. It's like, so then why am I fretting over it, man?
Right.
But I still do, right? It's fascinating. We're really long. I'm sorry. I'm sure you have to go.
You're good.
But
I mean,
go ahead.
I have to go to the bathroom since an hour ago.
nice.
Oh,
So since we talked about potty stuff, I've had to go.
yeah. We're going to wrap up. I'm going to ask him one question. I don't know how long it will last. What's up?
I was wrapping up.
Oh,
wrap?
but if you want, you can decide based on the question whether you want to run to the bathroom while it's going on or
I
not.
want to hear it.
Okay, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you listen to the question, decide whether or not you want to be here for the answer, and you can go to the bathroom if you need to. But I texted you a few things to be prepared for. I don't know if you are.
Yeah.
One of them, before we end this, I got to say I really appreciate you being here. We only talked Bible stuff for like the last little chunk of it, and I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
We will have to have you back again. But what is a favorite scripture or passage, or it can be the favorite? Maybe some people have one that's been with them their whole life. But what's a favorite scripture of yours? If you're willing to share it, and maybe tell us why.
Yeah. So my favorite, I'd say verse, and I think it's a lot of people's. But Micah 6:8, He's shown you what is good and what does the Lord require, but to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. But for me, the reason why is especially when I was in that early college age of life, and kind of like that I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
It's just kind of with Jesus, these are some things that God desires of you. Like, are you seeking to do what's right? Are you loving, showing mercy to people? And are you walking with God? And it's just kind of keeps it simple. And so like that's my favorite verse. Favorite section of scripture. I really like Judges and I really like Ecclesiastes. They're messy. Sometimes they're avoided because they deliver the news kind of with a direct blow. But I enjoy them. I tell people I'm more at home in the Old Testament than the New Testament. Don't know why. Just how God has wired my brain up.
It's probably a good thing. We need more people like that.
I like that.
I mean, the New Testament is pretty important.
It is.
It has like Jesus and stuff, but
It's got one really important thing.
yeah. But yeah, I would say Judges and Ecclesiastes are like the two books that I don't know. I don't read them for comfort because that would be strange to say, but my brain is fascinated by them.
Yeah. I just mean to say we need more people like that just because I think it's all his word, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
there is a very important element that's that's in the New Testament, but it's like it's all his word, and it really does all inform,
Yeah.
all like a lot of that Old Testament informs the New Testament salvation. It's very important. And so I think to a certain extent, we could all say this. I think that like often the New Testament is relied upon more, but there's so much in the Old Testament
In the
that
Catechism of Judaism, Christian, Protestant, and Catholic, Protestant shtick I've often heard is like, they hold the New Testament that's really high, but not the Old.
Almost exclusively Paul's letters too. It's
which are super important. But
They are. I mean, and it's like so much of it is like practical how to live your life stuff.
Right.
And so for that reason, it's like
It's easy to latch onto.
I love Philippians,
Right.
I love James.
now are they the most important? Yes, but no. The entire work is scripture, and the entire work is his word. I feel similarly about Job. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
Talk about Old Testament
Job,
books.
easy answer.
Job's
Love
a
it.
challenge.
Hosea.
Oof. We just went through that, but went through that in Bible study. Great book.
Yeah, it's great. Well, cool. Thank you for sharing that,
Absolutely.
man. I appreciate it. We're almost at 2 hours here. A lot of this is going to have to get cut down, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here. Before
Absolutely.
we go, you might have already expected this, and this is the only thing I purposely didn't prepare you for.
Dun, dun, dun.
Returning. Well, I don't know why I said returning. Every time we have a guest, we have to do this. Put you on the spot. You have to tell us a joke.
Okay. So I will confess, I did think about this.
I knew it.
I heard,
yeah.
and I don't have, my humor is less jokes and more just yapping. But I'm going to tell
here.
you one of my, and I'll also confess, this came from my roommate in college. He was the first one. And it is one of those you shoot your shot jokes, and it either hits or it doesn't. So I'm actually going to tell.
That's the best.
I'm actually going to tell you guys a knock-knock joke, but you
That's
guys
what
have
we
to
want.
start it. So who wants? So I got a knock-knock joke, but who wants to start it?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
I don't know.
That's the extent of the joke. It just makes people uncomfortable.
I got a knock knock joke, but you have to start it.
Yep.
That's the most.
It just tosses people. I'll just give like a dad joke. It's probably a tale as old as time. But what's the only thing a caterpillar's afraid of?
I don't
A
know.
dog-a-pillar.
Oh my gosh.
So, that one's for the actual joke moment.
In terms of guest jokes,
Let's go.
we're up there. We're
Alrighty.
up there.
Yeah, we've certainly had worse. I'll tell you right now. I'm not
Certainly.
going to say who it was, but we've certainly had worse.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, those are pretty good. All right, dude. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely loved it. Super fun episode, and I love the discussion. We will have to have you back.
Sweet.
And we'll get even deeper into some of these things. I think there's a lot of stuff that I would like to talk to you about, and I think that could be of value to our listeners. But given the fact that we're almost an hour and 55 minutes here, any quick thoughts before we go? Nothing? Byron's really got to go. So thank you guys for listening. Real quick, if you want to further discussions like this and you want to be a part of it, go to discord.gg/Christian Influence. Where can they find your podcast?
Privycast. You can search your podcatcher. You can also go look for Pickled Parables or My Dusty Bible. That's through Parable Ministries. That's the Bible teaching stuff that I work on. So
Awesome.
those are kind of the two.
That's a good name.
Yeah, I appreciate. I almost forgot to make you plug your stuff. That's
good.
super important. All right, great. If you want to be more involved in our discussions, discord.gg/Christian Influence. Tons of places there that you can get involved. You can talk about this show. You can find our other shows. You can get involved in online Bible studies and prayer partners and a bunch of other stuff. Byron's really got to go to the bathroom, so we love you very much.
I'm going to go pee.
Somebody's got to say it.
Oh, roll that intro. Extra.
Roll the outro.
We're lost without Levi.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.